I never thought a single sentence could rearrange the way I saw my own marriage, but the night she looked at me and said intimacy was her decision and her decision alone, something inside me shifted. Not because I disagreed. Of course she had the right to her own body. Of course she had the right to choose. But it was the way she said it. Cold. Dismissive. Like I was a stranger asking for something I had no place asking for. Like the years we built together meant nothing. For the first time, I saw a version of her I did not recognize. It started on a quiet Thursday. The kind of evening where nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. I had made dinner, simple pasta, the kind she usually loved. She came home late, distracted, barely kissed me, and barely touched her food. When I reached out to ask what was wrong, she pulled away. Not dramatically. Just enough to make my stomach drop. I asked her if everything was all right. She sighed, rubbed her forehead, and said she was tired. Work had been stressful. She just wanted space. I tried to give it to her. But the distance between us had been growing for months, creeping into our home like cold air under the door. I wanted to fix it. I wanted to talk. I wanted to understand. Instead, she walked into the bedroom and shut the door. Later that night, when I finally climbed into bed, I reached to hold her. A simple gesture. A quiet, familiar touch. She took my hand off her waist and whispered that intimacy was her decision. That she was not in the mood. That I needed to respect her boundaries. I lay there awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we even got here. This was not the woman who once jumped into my arms every night after work. This was not the woman who used to pull me closer in her sleep. Something had changed. I could feel it. And as much as I tried to tell myself it was stress, or burnout, or something temporary, my gut whispered another explanation. The next morning she acted normal again, as if nothing had happened. She brewed coffee, hummed a little tune, kissed me on the cheek before leaving. I stood in the kitchen holding my mug, confused, trying to understand how a person could switch so quickly. That day I promised myself I would stop assuming the worst. But the worst had already begun. 2 weeks passed. The distance grew sharper. Her excuses piled up. Too tired. Not feeling well. Too much work. She would spend long showers locked in the bathroom, come out with her phone in her hand, smiling at messages she quickly hid. And every time I tried to talk, she would shut down, accuse me of pressuring her, say I was making her feel suffocated. One night she said she needed air and wanted to go out with her coworkers. I told her to enjoy it. Around midnight I noticed her location was off on her phone. She had never turned it off before. I told myself not to panic. 1 in the morning. 2. 3. When she finally came home, she moved quietly like someone who felt guilty even if she did not admit it. I asked her where she had been. She said her battery died. She fell asleep on a friend's couch. Nothing happened. Stop overthinking. Stop being controlling. Stop making drama out of nothing. Then she turned away and went to sleep. I stayed awake again, feeling that same cold silence in my chest. The next morning I tried to salvage something. I suggested we go somewhere together that weekend. Maybe it would help reconnect. Maybe we could talk. She rolled her eyes and said she was not a child. She did not need to be managed. She had a right to her own life. Her own decisions. Her own body. I felt myself shrinking inside. Loving her was starting to feel like begging. 2 days later everything changed. She forgot her tablet on the kitchen counter. She never forgot anything. It buzzed with a new notification while I was cleaning. I swear I did not touch it out of curiosity or suspicion. It lit up on its own. A preview of a message. 1 sentence. 7 words. Last night was incredible. I need more. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. I did not open the tablet. I did not scroll. I did not look for more. That one message was enough. It explained everything. The coldness, the distance, the sudden boundaries that only appeared when the marriage required effort, the switched-off location, the excuses, the late nights. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the floor for a long time. I thought about every memory, every promise, every moment we had built. And I realized something painful but liberating. Her decision about intimacy was never about boundaries. It was about someone else stealing the connection that used to belong to us. I waited for her to come home. I expected to cry, yell, explode. Instead, I felt a strange calm. When she walked in, she smiled at me like everything was normal. Like our marriage was still intact. I asked her again if everything was all right. She said yes. I asked if she was happy. She shrugged, said she was fine. Then she said the one thing that finally broke me. She said we were just going through a dry phase and that I needed to be patient. She said she still cared, but she needed to feel in control of her own decisions. I nodded. Then I told her I knew about the message. The name on it. The timestamp. Her face changed instantly. Shock. Then fear. Then anger. Always anger, because anger was easier than guilt. She tried to lie at first. She said it was a joke. A coworker being stupid. A misunderstanding. Then she tried to blame me. She said I pushed her away. That she felt unappreciated. That the distance was my fault. That she needed affection and I was not giving enough. I listened to everything quietly. And then I told her the truth. That intimacy was her decision. And she had made it. With someone else. So now the next decision was mine. I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic. No shouting. No insults. Just a quiet decision born from weeks of pain. When she realized I was serious, she fell apart. She begged. She cried. She said it meant nothing. She said it was a mistake. She said she still loved me. But I felt nothing. Not hate. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just emptiness. The kind that comes after you finally stop fighting for something that has already died. As I walked out the door, she grabbed my arm and whispered that we could fix this if I would just listen. I told her I had been listening. 4 months. And now it was time for her to listen to the consequence of her choices. I left the house without looking back. The night air felt different. Lighter. Cleaner. Like breathing after being underwater too long. Later that week she sent long paragraphs. Apologies. Promises. Explanations. I did not block her. I just stopped replying. Because sometimes love ends not with a final blow, but with the quiet realization that the person who once reached for your hand now reaches for someone else in the dark. What happened next was simple. My life slowly began to rebuild itself. Day by day. Inch by inch. And for the first time in a long time, I made a decision too. A decision to leave behind anyone who confused love with convenience, intimacy with obligation, and loyalty with something optional. And that decision saved me.